It started with a dream. Reinvent the way people work. Not just offices, community. Not just desk. Adam Neumann was the face. Charismatic, wild, mesmerizing. He sold more than space. He sold a movement. And investors bought in. Billions poured in. Valuations skyrocketed. From a $45 million startup to a $47 billion beast in just 9 years. But it wasn't magic. It was hype. And that hype masked the chaos underneath. Because WeWork wasn't tech. It was real estate. Leasing buildings, renovating them, then subleasing to freelancers and startups. A landlord with a hoodie and a burn rate on fire. They spent like a unicorn, but earned like a camel. Cash flowed out. Losses piled up. Still Neumann kept pushing. He sold the dream harder. Expanded globally. Built schools. Launched wellness products. Talked about elevating the world's consciousness. The board nodded. SoftBank applauded and poured in more money. But no one asked the hard question. Is this sustainable? Because behind the cult was a company bleeding money. They lost $1.6 billion in a single year, yet planned an IPO. The S1 filing dropped, and the world saw everything. The losses, the conflicts of interest, the weird corporate governance. Neumann renting properties to WeWork, taking loans from the company, trademarking We, and charging WeWork to use it. Investors panicked. The media swarmed. The IPO collapsed. Neumann was forced out. He left with a golden parachute, over $1 billion, while the company imploded. Thousands were laid off. Valuation dropped by 90%, and the dream was dead. But how did it rise so fast and crash even faster? Because WeWork wasn't just a company, it was a symbol of a decade drunk on disruption, where founders became gods, where venture capital burned logic, where buzzwords beat balance sheets. WeWork promised to be the future of work, but it was just office space with kombucha and a tech valuation on top. Investors wanted the next Uber, so they believed the hype, even when it made no sense, because Adam Neumann knew how to sell a story. He sold it to employees, to landlords, to Masayoshi's son. He made WeWork feel like a revolution, and revolutions get funded, even when they lose money every minute, even when they have no clear path to profit, even when they act like a cult. Neumann lived large. Private jets, mansions, parties. He was the spiritual leader of Walkspace, until reality hit. The IPO exposed everything. It was too much, too fast, too obvious, and too broken. The fall was brutal. From $47 billion to near bankruptcy, SoftBank tried to rescue it. They took control, rebranded, rebuilt, fired thousands, cut the fat, but the damage was done. WeWork became a punchline, the poster child for startup delusion, and Adam Neumann, he walked away rich, blamed, but rewarded, because in Silicon Valley, storytelling is currency, and accountability is optional. So what's the lesson? That culture doesn't replace profit. That vision doesn't fix math. That hype can only carry you so far. WeWork wanted to change the world, but forgot to build a solid business. They mistook charisma for competence and burned billions chasing buzz. They had users, they had brand, but they had no margins, no moat, no discipline, and no one to say, stop. Because when valuations soar, oversight disappears. Everyone wants the next unicorn, even if it's a mirage. And WeWork was the mirage of the decade, a brilliant brand on a broken foundation. And when the smoke cleared, it was just empty offices, leases, lawsuits, layoffs, but the idea, it wasn't all bad. Flexible workspaces are real. Co-working isn't a scam. It was just overpromised and oversold in the hands of the wrong leader at the peak of a reckless cycle. Now, the world watches to see if WeWork 2.0 can survive. Stripped of the hype, grounded in reality, because the fall was legendary, but the rise was a warning. A reminder that no valuation is too big to fail, and that when you build a house of glass, you better expect it to shatter.